Good morning, everyone. This is Mike O'Malley here with a hurricane outlook and discussion recorded on May 31st, 2023, recorded on 10:30 a.m. Eastern Time. We have a lot of things to jump into today, including a tropical cyclone watch for portions of the Gulf of Mexico and southwestern Atlantic Basin. We're providing with all of the latest information, so let's go and jump straight into everything. So, taking a wide look across the tropical Atlantic this morning, we noticed that there is a couple of things ongoing at this current moment in time. First of all, big tropical wave that has moved off the coast of Africa overnight. This tropical wave right here, it's fairly big in size, but this is not expected to do anything. In fact, you can see all these other tropical waves down here in the intertropical convergence zone have basically dissipated. Strong upper level winds and dry air. The main problems here, of course, we'd expect that for basically the beginning of June as we close out the final day of May. And then we are watching this tropical disturbance located in the Gulf of Mexico at this point. Looks very benign at this particular point in time, not much associated with it at the moment. However, as we'll take a look here and deeper dive in just a second, there is some stuff underneath the hood that is important and could bring some impacts to Florida over the next several days. So if we take a look here at the reflectivity and the visible satellite imagery for the past 2 hours, we notice that there is some spin ongoing currently in the Gulf of Mexico. We notice that there is convection ongoing, and notice the shower and thunderstorm activity being picked up by the numerous radar sites here in Florida, and a couple of more storms just off the eastern coast as well. Now, currently, we notice that there is some pretty strong upper level winds. Notice these cloud motions are rapidly streaming off towards the north and east here. So there's a lot of vertical shear in this area, and we notice that this area is mostly devoid of any substantial convection. So there's no there's no storms near where there's a circulation trying to be established. But nonetheless, this will be a heavy rainmaker and will make its way into the peninsula over the next couple of days. So as this low pressure system begins to form, get more established, and then move over the peninsula somewhere, it is expected to bring some heavier rainfall. If we look at the rain intensity map here, we notice that there is expected to be a lot of heavy rain across portions of South Florida over the next 5 to 7 days. Mainly within days about 2 through about 4, we're expecting a lot of heavy rainfall, which could be on the order of 4 to 6 inches across portions of South Florida, with anywhere between 1 to 3 inches across Central Florida and less than 1 inch there across portions of Northern Florida in that lighter shade of green. And if we take a look here at the wind gust forecast, this again has a pretty low confidence at this point in time. But generally speaking, the strongest winds are going to be along and east of generally the Interstate 75 corridor, roughly from about eastern Marion County, western Orange County, southward into near the Lake Okeechobee area. 15 to 20 mile per hour gusts expected across this particular region, with about 20 to 25 mile per hour gusts expected on the immediate coast from about the Space Coast all the way up through the Jacksonville, Florida area, as those pressure gradients then begin to tighten offshore, suggesting that, again, those wind gusts will be picking up right along the immediate coast, but further inland, those wind gusts probably will be limited. We'll have to see exactly where the low pressure center goes and how strong it is. So looking at the official WPC Weather Prediction Center forecast in terms of the amount of precipitation that is expected to fall over the next 5 days across Florida, we notice that most of Central and South Florida is represented with at least over 1.25 inch of rainfall. In some areas, especially down there in South Florida, around 3 to 6 inches of rainfall is expected to fall within the next 5-day period. So certainly a lot of heavy rainfall that is to be expected across the area, but certainly nothing that we can't handle. But it definitely could cause some flooding concerns, especially in any flooding prone areas. And with some of the already saturated grounds in that area, it definitely could cause some problems. So here, if we take a look at the upper level wind environment as depicted by the GFS forecast, this is starting off this morning at roughly just after 2 a.m. here. And we notice that pretty strong upper level winds as we currently speak right now. All of these wind arrows here are pointing generally from the southwest to northeast, indicating that we have a northeasterly wind shear component. And we notice that in the area that it is pretty calm right now, that's where we're trying to get that flare up of rotation. But as this begins to eject off towards the east here over the next several days, the wind shear is going to remain quite strong. And in fact, here it's only going to pick up. The GFS forecast indicated just after 2 a.m. tomorrow indicates accelerated flow around where this system is and across the southern Florida peninsula tomorrow, generally on the order of 20 to 40 knots in some locations, especially across South Florida. And that only will continue to accelerate as we progress throughout the day tomorrow, with over 50 to 60 knots of flow, especially out there in the southwestern Atlantic and the Florida Straits. So this really isn't going to help at all. In fact, the wind shear becomes stronger, especially as we head into the 4th. So the overall component for tropical cyclone formation is very unlikely. That's why that there's only been given a 20% chance by the Hurricane Center. Very unfavorable upper level wind environment as we progress throughout the remainder of the next several days, and that is likely to preclude any substantial development as we head into the month of June. One quick final thing here, just looking at the precipitable water, or a measure of all of the moisture content in the atmosphere. If you were to squeeze out a column of air, this is how much precipitation you would get. So we notice that there is the warmer colors here indicate generally precipitable water over 1/2 inch. So very substantial amount of moisture content in the atmosphere. And we notice that is going to be the case throughout the next several days as precipitable water continues to evolve around the area of low pressure. So again, we notice that in this general vicinity around the Central Florida Peninsula, and even into portions of far southern Alabama, the Florida Panhandle, southern Mississippi, and southeastern Louisiana, there's going to be enhanced chances for precipitation as you stretch throughout the next couple of days. And our high-resolution forecast model continues to suggest by the 2nd here, by June 2nd at 8 a.m. in the morning, we notice that there is still a large amount of precipitable water content in the atmosphere, generally around this area of low pressure and the Florida Peninsula. So again, this only confirms to validate the heavy rain potential that is expected over the next several days. Certainly, it is not going to be a complete washout, but most of your afternoons are going to be filled with storms, so please do plan accordingly. So with that being said, I do hope you have a great rest of your afternoon and evening. Of course, I am Michael Romali. God bless, take care, and I'll talk to you guys again some more over the next several days.